Too sweet! Hi, welcome to JD Sports. I'm Jared Hood. That's Dwight. You can follow our Twitters at the show's Twitter page, which is @_JD Sports. And you can watch on YouTube. Dwight, tell them how to get the SoundCloud.
Hit up soundcloud.com/JD Sports Show.
I like that. I know I don't promptly, I never discuss it before. I just kind of always throw it to you for the SoundCloud, but I like the little you being able to add that part because I'm able to do the rest. Anyways, kind of makes us feel like a real show. So there's a lot to get into.
Right.
We're big basketball guys.
Yep.
I even want to get into hockey because the second round's going to start, so I want to at least make my predictions, even though I was way off on the first round. I'll probably be way off on the second round, but that's the fun of the hockey. Mm-hmm. We'll get to that.
As you should.
There's even your favorite part of the NFL, the draft, to talk about at some point. But before we get to any of that, okay?
Yep.
Sunday was huge in sports. I mean, you had elimination basketball, you had elimination hockey, more elimination hockey than basketball, but you had a lot of elimination. You had just so much baseball going on. Shout out to my Phils, big sweep over the weekend.
I heard
they had a great
about time.
Yeah, they've been playing great going even into the weekend. They beat the Mets 2 out of 3 going into the weekend. So great sports weekend, right?
Right.
The thing that we don't talk about at all on this show would be soccer. That's the one sport we never... I mean, hockey and soccer, outside of what we talk about, is what I watch those two as much as I watch every sport. We talk about baseball, basketball, football on this show. I watch a ton of hockey, I watch a ton of soccer.
Okay.
Lionel Messi is my favorite soccer player. The entire reason I watch soccer is because I watched Lionel Messi play twice, and I fell in love with the game, and now I follow Barcelona. Anyways, the Champions League, or not Champions League, the El Clasico, which is La Liga. It's the biggest game between Barcelona and Real Madrid. They're the biggest rivals in La Liga. Basically, Barcelona was gonna win La Liga, but this game was for the championship. I mean, for who was gonna be the winner of La Liga.
Right.
There is no such thing as overtime and during the regular season for there, but they were in extra time, which is the there was 2 extra minutes added on because of stoppage.
Right.
It was 91-45. Okay, so at 92 they were going to call the game. The game would be over at the 92nd minute. At 91-45, Lionel Messi scores a ridiculous goal to go up 3-2.
Of course he did.
It was the. Of course he did. They call him Magical Messi, right? He is the magic man. I mean, it was the. I know we. For America, I always try to explain this to people in America. We watch more sports than anybody, right? But we don't watch the biggest sport in the world. We don't watch soccer, football across the rest of the world. We don't watch it.
Soccer, we don't watch cricket, we don't watch rugby.
But rugby, cricket, and soccer are all more popular across the entire globe than our NFL. And our NFL is the most popular thing in America. We are self-centered with our own sports, which is fine because it actually... for people like us who live here, it makes a really cool cycle for us. But the rest of the world finds it weird that we don't follow the rest of the world because the rest of the world follows the rest of the world. Anyways, we don't follow soccer. I follow soccer. That was the equivalent of... It's hard to explain because it's technically a regular season game, but the regular season means more than our regular seasons. And when you say regular season, you're going to think basketball, but let me put it into football terms.
Is that like a football team making a playoffs?
It was sort of, but not really, because the winning La Liga just means you won your champion. Their playoffs and their regular season are separate, right? But but it means nothing going. There's no such thing as the playoffs for them. Then it's just if you are the best team over X amount of games, and that's how it goes. And then there's separate tournaments for the playoff style thing. There's the Champions League, there's the FA Cup. There is no La Liga tournament for the best La Liga team. It's if you win over X amount of games, I think it's 47 games. If you win over X amount of games, if you have the most points at the end of it, you are the best team of your table, and that's just how that goes. And basically, Barcelona is eligible for 5 trophies every year: the La Liga, Championship, FA, blah blah. They've only won the 5 trophies twice. My thing, to win one of them, even if one of them is just winning your table and having the most wins over X amount of games, is impressive. For them to do it in that manner, it'd be like a team needing week 17 to win a football game, and they kicked the last-second field goal, but the way it happened was 4th and 26, basically. Do you know what I mean? Messi scoring that goal in the last seconds was unbelievable. It was impressive. It's
Messi.
It was pressure-packed. I mean, it was in... when I was younger, I have a cousin who watches Man United. He's obsessed with the EPL, and as I've gotten older, I've started to watch the EPL. But it was not long out of high school that one of my friends...
That's about the extent we pay attention to.
America only really pays attention to the EPL. But when I was in high school, when I was just getting out of high school, one of my friends who he watches as much sports as we do, he loved Lionel Messi, and I always enjoyed soccer, but I never sat and watched outside of the World Cup. And then here I am watching Lionel Messi with him, and then I'm watching highlights, and then I'm watching Lionel Messi's whole career on YouTube with him one day. And next thing you know, I just fall in love with the game. And so over the last 5 to 10 years, I have watched way more. I mean, I still, every single weekend, will watch a game, and I still will learn a new player or a new name, or I'll just follow a midfielder or a defender, and I'll just, I'm still learning the game, which is an awesome part of it, because in my older age, I sit down and watch basketball, and I think I take for granted the second quarter pick that I'm just not paying attention to. You know what I mean? Where here, when I watch soccer, every second, every movement, I'm just trying to gather information, where, I feel like when I watch sports in America, I don't do that, because I did that when I was a kid.
Right,
it's autopilot.
You already know at this point.
I know the players.
You already expect what's going to go down.
I know how. I know what sets they're going to run. I know, like all of it. Baseball, basketball, football, hockey. It's just so natural. I don't even pay attention half the time in the middle of these games. I do, but I don't. Where in soccer, I am intent on every little thing they're doing, because I'm trying to pick things up. I'm still trying to learn.
Yeah, you're still trying to learn the sport in general, and the tendencies and the play and all that stuff.
I don't want to be one of those people who live in America that act like they know everything about soccer. I'm still learning left and right about soccer. When it comes to Barcelona, I'm pretty good. I love that team. I love that roster, and I get that is basically, they're not the Yankees. Real Madrid would do the Yankees, but they are the most popular team now because of Messi. Yeah. He's the greatest player in the world. What he did on Sunday, not just that goal, but that goal is the icing on it. That was his 500th goal of his career, which, again, how else would he do that? You know what I mean? Not only in the most impressive action. He had another goal earlier in the game to tie it up. They looked really sloppy throughout most of the game, and then out of nowhere they put it together. They get it done. They did it without Neymar, which was impressive. But Barcelona winning that game was a big deal. They're out of the Champions League, so they're not going to win the which is probably the biggest trophy to them. It's a tournament. They played pretty bad in that overall, even though they got fairly far in it. They played really bad in it. They got to figure out defense during the transfer period. They will get there. Getting off soccer, I just wanted to shout out Lionel Messi, because that was a thing over on Sunday that I felt like around the rest of the world is all anyone would talk about on Monday. I mean, nobody was talking about anything else on Monday across the world except for that. And then in America, you had basketball, hockey. We have everything else. The draft, right? Exactly. So,
right, yeah. No, it's definitely worth shouting out. I mean, when you got the GOAT of a sport out here doing GOAT things, we're going to talk about it. Regardless if I've seen it or if you've seen it or whatever, this is a sports show. We want to talk about sports.
And on top of it,
we cover everything.
For the amount of soccer.
Some networks and some shows.
Right, yeah, exactly.
I want to get to.
You're right. But
anyway,
outside of soccer, soccer, we don't cover much soccer. We covered a little bit when there was World Cup stuff going on, or when there was a couple tournaments going on. We mentioned it. But I watched so much of it for us to not even talk about it.
We're not going to cover Mexico versus Peru. We're just, I just named two countries. But
No, that's a good example. You're right. Something that I might catch the last 10 minutes of. For the most part, I'm never just going to mention on the show the way that I watched the entire El Clasico. And
it's a big deal. You're 500 goal when you're
the greatest
of all time. It's a big deal to talk about.
I probably wouldn't have
Pele, but that's another conversation.
Unless it ended the way it did, or was the epic game that it was. Chances are, even though I watched the entire thing, even though I watched most of their games, chances are we would have never. I would have never even said anything on the show about it, because it would have been another Barcelona game that whatever. So
shout out to Messi. Do a Messi thing.
That was impressive. He is obviously the whole reason I really watch soccer. What got me into it and how we fell in love. So just anything he does, I am just still in awe of. And it's always fun when he hits a milestone like this, because I remember when he hit 450, somebody will put together all of his goals, and then you just sit there and just marvel at the most impressive things that he does. Moving on to American sports, basketball, the NBA, the association.
Well, it's almost not American anymore.
There's a lot of European players in it, which is awesome. It's not to the MLB point, where the MLB is full of basically most people who are not American. There's still Americans in it, but
it's going to be there soon.
The NHL is looking 70-30 European and then 30% Americans playing. So
that's crazy.
But the MLB is almost higher than that, if I'm not mistaken, right now. So
the NBA
is getting in that wheelhouse. I mean, you still have. I think it's still 60. I think it's 60-40 American, because there's you're still 90% of your draft still coming from the American colleges, which
it'll probably
outside of the Joel Embiid, outside of the Jabari Parkers, who's from Canada, outside
the best of the best that they can get from those areas.
For the most part, your entire 30 first picks, maybe 8 of them will come from overseas. The rest will be in America.
The NBA is looking at another 10, 15, 20 years before it's on.
Easily. But
it's building. It's definitely building.
It has expanded. America still has the better players.
Definitely.
If I were to say to you before the playoffs started, if I were to give you the bottom 3 series, right, you would say Memphis Spurs, because no one really likes to watch either of them. You would say
Clippers,
Milwaukee.
Jazz. No, I would not say Milwaukee.
Milwaukee, but I felt like Milwaukee-Toronto was kind of one of those throwaways. It was either Milwaukee or Atlanta-Washington. I thought that those two series were like kind of fighting in the bottom three for a series that just people didn't really care about, take any notes on.
I give you Spurs, Grizzlies.
Because no one liked the style.
Well, maybe. I was more so thinking the Spurs were just going to sweep them. I'd give you Spurs, Grizzlies. I'd give you Washington.
Atlanta. I felt like that was one that people were going to watch.
Damn, see, I almost said Toronto. Atlanta.
See, I thought Toronto-Milwaukee was another one that people just weren't going to watch.
Okay, well, okay.
But I'm with you.
I'm going to stick what you said. If you're saying the general public, yes. But me personally,
no. You and I are going to watch Milwaukee because we both like the Greek Freak going into the series, and we both like Toronto as a roster.
Right.
But I meant people overall watching. Like, I honestly feel like people overall, if they were ranking the series, they would have put Washington, Atlanta over them because of John Wall and Bradley Beal, because there's more for them to pay attention there. Okay, so
I got you.
To my point.
Right.
So, say they were the bottom four, okay?
Yeah.
Two series that we would have just said in the bottom four there, and you can even throw a third in with the Clippers, have been some of the best series. I mean, the Memphis Spurs series, we're going to start off with that. That might be the best series going in the playoffs right now.
It is now. It wasn't that way to start.
It was 2-0, and then it was 2-2. How about Fizdale? Now, I was thinking, the head coach of Memphis, who he said, I know I'm a rook coach and I ain't going to get rooked. And ever since he did that, they won the next two games.
That speech, what was it?
I know I'm a rookie coach, but I ain't going to get rooked.
Yeah, there's another line in there.
Take that data. Take that for data. And he
I was like, that's something I would say to you on this show.
It is.
I was like, everybody was like, what does that mean? I was like, really?
Really?
Really? Yeah, I heard people saying, well, I'm not really sure what that means. What is data? What is this data he's speaking of? I was just like, do you not pay attention? Yeah.
You follow the NBA? You been watching?
That's the thing. I'm not going to call out who said this. I'll say it off air because I really like this person. I really like this person's show, and I'm not going to call her out. Rachel Nichols on the jump. But yes, she said that. I know, I was really disappointed in her. But anyway.
We both like her. So
I know.
Okay. I'll give you that.
She's entitled to one dumb thing.
Before we even get into it, do you know who Fizdale is? Like, do you have any clue where he came from?
He's the head
right now. That he's head coach of the Grizzlies.
I know nothing about him.
When I say this, you're gonna have like the epiphany that I had when somebody pointed out to me. He was the random light-skinned dude standing next to Eric Spoelstra for the 4 years with the Heat. He's the random dude that was always. You know exactly what I'm talking about now too. That's why you laugh like that, because you understand exactly what I'm saying. Nobody knew who he was. Nobody knew who that guy was. That's him. That's who that guy was.
You know what's bad? I literally started laughing because I literally just envisioned.
You're picturing it. He's the one yelling behind Spoelstra every time there was a picture of Spoelstra. Spoelstra's just standing there not saying a word, and there was a coach yelling behind him. That's him. That was Fizdale.
Damn. Okay.
And I didn't realize that was
sure
him.
Enough is. Like, so he has a ring. Oh shit, he has a ring. At least one?
So I'm sitting there and I'm like, yo.
Wait, how many rings does he have? He has to have at least one.
He got what? They got two.
Well, was he there for both?
He was there for all 4 years.
Okay. Oh shit.
So he played pop in the finals twice.
Where have I been?
So I only learned this after that rant is when I learned this. So if somebody would have told me the day before that rant who was the light skinned guy behind Spoelstra always yelling, like if somebody would have said that, if somebody would have said that, I wouldn't have been able to put a face to it. I'd just been like, yo, I do remember some dude was always right behind him yelling. Like I would have just like had a blurry vision of somebody. Right? They said who it was, and automatically I got a full on body standing behind him. I'm like, oh man, what? Like it was like an epiphany. That's why I said it to you.
That's funny.
Isn't that hilarious? So
okay, cool.
He has a little more backbone. He has a little more backbone than we ever would have thought in the first place.
I was good with him saying what he said in general.
So was I. Before I knew anything about him.
He has 2 rings under his belt.
Right, he was with LeBron, Wade, Bosh. He was on a stressful team. He's seen how it gets done. Right. I'm with you. He
was on that coaching staff that was rumored to be fired.
That little pedigree that you didn't think he had, he got a little bit. He at least steps up a little bit. So
I'll give him another nod, but I mean,
it's still in the West. It's still in the West. It's still in the West, and he's still playing Popovich. So I mean, so he does that.
Okay.
The players end up paying his fine, which I thought was pretty cool because I'm pretty sure to me that felt like, and all jokes aside.
Did Mike Conley pay the fine?
Apparently the players got
together. Enough money.
They got together he does got enough money.
And Mark and Zach and Zebo were like, yo.
Apparently, you
like a $200 million, $300 million man out here.
Yeah, you got
more than LeBron and KD and Steph.
You got more than MJ.
Ew. And Kobe and Shaq and Kareem.
You're the highest paid player
of
all time. You got 0 technicals, and our coach just went to bat for you.
Yo, you're going to have to pay like 90-10 of this. Like
we'll put in like 50%, but you're putting in the rest of the 50. Like 4 dudes are standing there.
I just said.
No, 4 dudes are standing there. 4 dudes are standing and say, we will pay 50%. You pay together 50.
Yeah.
Because that's how that goes.
Okay.
But they paid us fine, which I thought was really cool.
That's what's up.
I think, because honestly, on everything aside with this, I felt like he went to bat on the side of I didn't think
he was right.
He was right, but I don't think he did that on the sense of he was trying to swing the series or he even thought his team was going to win a game in the series at that point. I think he did that on the sense of I need to establish myself and my presence as the head coach of this team from moving forward. Even if they lose the next 2 games, it gives him some kind of standard throughout the summer. It gives him some kind of hey, the players will now trust him going into the next season, the season after that, season after that.
Should.
So I'm gonna stand here and take the Bulls right here, year 1, down 0-2 when we don't look like we got a shot.
That's the GOAT.
Now, no matter what happens from there on out, they know I got their back, and they're going to go out there and play for me. Now, turns out...
And he goes out there and does a Phil Jackson.
Which
always worked out in Phil's favor.
They win back-to-back games at home.
So he turned into the Zen Master.
Now, you get on me because I just pointed out about 3/4 of the seasons that Kawhi's defense lacked a little because of how good he was.
Because it was hilarious. Yeah, easy for me to say. It was hysterically ridiculous. But yeah,
I didn't say that I didn't think Kawhi wasn't a good 2-way player. I just said that for this season, his defense dropped because of his offense. Why is my man looking out there looking like Kobe Bryant on the offensive end, but then looking like Kawhi Leonard again on the defensive end? And
this is why I thought this conversation was ridiculous.
Because I agree that the regular season doesn't matter any, but it was just the point of, it was how are we deciding difference between MVP, and I just thought that it was unfair that people were trying to say that Kawhi was doing really good on defense when that particular season, the year that we're talking about, that particular MVP season, he wasn't playing that good on defense. Don't get me wrong, in the playoffs, I wasn't ever thinking that he was going to slack on defense or couldn't find it because I'm the LeBron...
apologist.
Okay, so I understand that the defense turns out ratchets it up 10 times more in the playoffs than it does in the regular season. LeBron don't play any defense in the regular season. LeBron is one of the best defenders in the postseason. Like, I understand how this works, especially for guys that can put the offensive set in that they do. I was just pointing out the fact of if you wanted to start separating things, they were worse on the defensive end when he was on the floor.
I swear I have a line to turn this into another argument, but I don't want to have it again, so we'll just keep going.
They are not worse defensively with him on the floor
now.
No
kidding. Right.
In the playoffs.
Right. You don't say. Okay.
Even in an overtime loss in Game 4, he was the star. I mean, Conley. Now I know you and I both make fun of Conley. We both kind of like the highest paid player in the history of basketball. We both kind of poke our fun at him.
No technical. Shout out to him.
He might have been as good as Kawhi in that Game 4. You don't think so?
Are we talking about just like overall?
Overall. I'm saying, just.
I mean, I don't know. I didn't analyze his defensive plays. I don't know if he was.
I'll give you that. But
I mean, was he the best player out there for the Grizzlies? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
was he?
Yeah.
I don't know. Sure.
I know this all got a shot, but my point, like,
I don't know. He might have been the best defender out there. I don't know. I didn't pay that close enough attention to analyze. Yeah, he was clearly the best.
Well,
nobody was stopping
Kawhi. Nobody was stopping Kawhi.
Right.
Like nobody on that. And
okay. Let me put it to you how I'm going to put it to you, which is. I don't think anybody on the Memphis Grizzlies can stop Kawhi. I think that the Spurs can stop Michael Conley.
Okay, I'll give you that. Can I put it that way? Yes, okay. I'm not saying that Kawhi isn't the better player overall. I still feel that way. I just meant in the sense of in an overtime win, in a big situation where basically if you go down 3-1, you're not coming back from the series, especially against the Spurs. But if you go 2-2, you at least give yourself a shot. He put in the work. He put in the game of the season, his best effort.
He did.
Why
trying to make that money?
Why they paid him what they did?
Right.
And again, is that deserving of the highest paid? But we can't base it off of salary at this point. I want to base it off of talent level, where they're at, who they're playing with, where they're playing around. Fizdale, Popovich. You know what I mean?
Right. Hey, bottom line is, all you got to say is they were down 2 or they're now 2-2.
Right.
At this point of this
and they went home and did what they were supposed to do.
Right. We now have a series as of this recording. It's 2-2. So I mean,
it was a fun 2 games to come back to watch them handle things the way they did.
They handle business.
Popovich sat everybody in Game 3, all of his starters in Game 3, because he was mad at the way that they were playing. So I mean, the Grizzlies were doing something right to frustrate that team.
Get away with that.
And I agree with that as well. Only Pop can get away with that. I felt like him doing that partially was because of how they were playing, and partially was he felt like they could afford to lose a game. So if he rested them for the second half, it was going to be okay. Can I put this to you too, and we'll talk about Cleveland in a minute. But while we're on that topic of purposely probably resting some players in the middle of a game because he felt like it was okay to lose it, do you think Cleveland, when they got on that big run to come back from Indiana when they were down 26, since they did that with Love and Kyrie already on the bench, do you think they just took that as an opportunity to cut Love and Kyrie for an entire fourth quarter and make sure that they got some rest in the middle of the series? Because if they felt like they were going to lose, they were going to lose anyway, so what does it matter if you come back and win because LeBron does what he does. But if not, at least you have those two. Like we get on rest a lot, and here we are in the playoffs with 2 teams, 2 of the 3 best teams that we're considering, and it looks like they are intentionally resting players in the middle of games, in the middle of series, because they feel like it's okay to lose that particular game. Did you feel that way? Because I felt that way with Cleveland. As much as I felt like it was, they were on the comeback and they were doing well. You can't tell me you would rather Deron Williams out there at any point in the series over Kyrie Love or Kyrie. You could not tell me at any point in the series that you want Richard Jefferson out there over Kevin Love. Like, I'm sorry. I know how bad they both played in the first 2.5 quarters of that game. I just felt like the comeback was a little bit on, and they looked at it as a reason to sit those 2 players and give them basically a 2.5-day break going into the...
So you're saying Pop sat his players game what? 3?
Game 3. Second half of Game 3, none of his starters played.
See, that's...
Second half of Game 3, none of them touched the floor.
That's a little different situation. We're talking... Well...
And I personally felt like he did that because he felt like they could lose a game in the middle of the series while proving a point, like you said, because nobody else can get away with it. While he was proving his point, like, hey, you guys didn't play the way I wanted you to play in the first half. This is me punishing you. This is not, yes or no, this is not the time of year to punish your players, right? Like, you can't just start punishing your players.
Petty shit? No, this is the way to start punishing.
This is not the time to ever do that. Like, if this happened in the NFL... If you played a bad first half in the NFL, right? You're not going to sit Carson Wentz or Dak Prescott in the second half because they played a bad first half in the NFL. Then you're going to tell them go out there and correct what you did. You're going to make halftime adjustments. I felt like it was for Pop and for the Cleveland when I said that about Cleveland, but I felt like for Pop it was a way for him to sit there and look at it as we have a day off. I can literally sit them for now a day and a half to get a full rest. They don't have to play the second half of this basketball game. It doesn't matter if we win or lose this game. They were only down 5 when he did this. Like, it wasn't like they were down 20 plus when Cleveland decided to sit their players. They went from down 20 plus to it was only a 10-point game, and they were like, you know what? For the rest of this game, we don't need these 2. But I still felt like it was a resting situation. Spurs were only a 5-point game. He just didn't like the way they were playing in the first half. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just felt like it was a rest situation. Like you said, no one else gets away with that. I don't think anyone else gets away with that. No one else does that, though.
Right.
Who else can afford to sit their starters? And they lost the game reasonably, and anybody would. But I don't know another coach that could sit their starters in the second half of a playoff game that you're within because you didn't like the way they played in the first half.
That answer is no way.
Man. And we make a real big deal. We make a big deal about this resting thing.
Yeah, and as we should, but
I mean, that's a perfect example of, like, he doesn't care about the first round either. It might come back to haunt him. Like, they might, if they lose the series, that's something that you can point at and be like, Popovich, what were you doing? Like, what was seriously, legitimately, now looking back on it, you only have 7 chances. Like, what were you doing with half of one of them? You know what I mean? You were gambling, literally gambling with half of one of them.
Do you still question if they're going to win the series or not? Because I don't. Which, I completely understand what you just said.
Because he's doing things differently as well. Popovich is doing things differently. Like, down the stretch, have you ever seen him?
He always has.
No, and I understand that. But I'm saying he's doing things differently than he ever has before. Down the stretch, have you ever seen him offensively just hand the ball to a player and say, we're going to play ISO basketball with that guy, and we're just in the last 2 minutes, and we're just going to let him do his thing? Because, like, for the first time...
At what point?
He's letting Kawhi
had to. He's never had to.
No. What I'm saying is, like, because he never trusted Tony Parker that much. He never trusted Ginobili that much.
That's what I'm saying.
He never even trusted Duncan that much.
See, that's the thing, is that he had 4 or 5 different options. Now he has Kawhi and a bunch of pieces.
Yeah, no. Kawhi could throw it down to Ulrich. Kawhi could throw it down to Powell. Kawhi, the only thing Kawhi doesn't do
he's not going to rely on Powell. He might rely on Aldridge.
Right, I got you, but he doesn't need to rely on anybody. But he relied on the entire starting five before. Now he's literally relying on Kawhi. The only adjustment to Kawhi's game, and look, Kawhi wasn't a good shooter before, and look at him now. He is literally shooting, and I call him Kobe Bryant because I feel like I'm watching another version of Kobe out there. Like he's trying to play like Kobe. I'm not saying he's playing as good as Kobe. I'm saying he's trying to play like Kobe. Like he's taking a lot of shots.
I hear you.
But what I'm saying is like Kobe could pass even if he didn't pass all the time. Kobe could pass. I think Kobe passed more than people give him credit for. I'm just saying he had a pass in his game. He was able to pass the ball better than people give him credit for. Yes. Kawhi can't pass the ball that well. I feel like Kawhi is going to work on that in the offseason and become a better passer because that is the one thing in his game that he is missing. Other than that, he is one of the best defensive players on the floor, and he is becoming one of the best offensive players on the floor. And Popovich is literally letting the last 2 minutes of games in his hands. I mean, I've never seen Popovich do that with one player. To your point, he never had that. Well, he had Duncan, though. He could have just thrown it down to Duncan every time, and Duncan could have done that, been that guy.
Yeah.
Bruce Bowen always tells those stories about how in the last 2 minutes of a game, Bruce would take the ball, try to drive in, or take a jump shot and miss, and then run it down the court. Tim would just kind of give him that look, like, just hey, throw it down to me next time, you know what I mean? Like just I'm that guy. Right. You know, so like while Duncan could have always been that guy, he never always was that guy. Where now at the Spurs, you knew last 2 minutes of that game, you knew the last 2 minutes of that game. Popovich was saying ISO Kawhi, ISO Kawhi, ISO Kawhi. And then Kawhi, to his credit, was doing what he needed to do, especially in Game 4 is what we're particularly talking about here. In Game 4, he took over, did what he had to do, and played really good defense down the stretch. Yes, they still lost the game, but overall, I got the Spurs because of Kawhi. I think he's the one difference. This is
Definitely, I'm still staying with the Spurs. It's not even a conversation.
When it comes down to these series, it's always everyone learns each other's sets. Everybody knows each other's plays. Everybody knows what everybody likes to do. It just comes down to who is the better players, who has the better player, and the best player in the series, as good as Conley is, as good as Zebo can play, as good as Gasol is. None of them are as good as Kawhi.
I just don't see Pop losing to a rookie coach, and with that, it's clearly undermatched compared to what the Spurs have.
I'll give you that, yeah.
If this was just the Grizzlies 3-4 years ago, I might give you that option, but in this stage, no.
But I feel like they might have upgraded at coach by getting Fizdale, even though he's a rookie coach.
I mean, maybe, but I still don't see him out coaching Pop in this situation.
I don't either.
Yeah, so
the other really good series, one that before we really got into it, we were talking about how people were saying an 8 and a 1 seed Boston. It was 2-0 last time we talked. It's 2-2 now.
Yep.
We were going on and on about
I feel
different
the same way
things.
I did last week. I feel the exact same way.
I feel different because last week I thought, and even before the passing of Isaiah's sister, I felt like Chicago had a shot because, as I said, I always feel like it comes down to players, and I felt like the best players were on the Bulls team, even though the overall better team would be the Celtics. But I felt like the best superstars were on the Bulls team. But that was when Rondo was there. Rondo breaks a finger. He broke his thumb. That shifted the series incredibly.
Apparently.
Chicago kind of found their way at the end of Game 4. Like they were getting destroyed in Game 3 after Rondo went out. They were getting destroyed through the first half of Game 4. They make the comeback in Game 4, so they found a little bit of way without Rondo for the first time. They still, though, I still got Boston unless Rondo magically comes back. I haven't seen anything from Chicago that says that they can answer what Isaiah does. The thing is that Rondo was doing what Isaiah was doing, and then you had Jimmy Butler and D Wade combined doing
I was gonna say,
more than everybody else.
At least, unless one of them step up, which they haven't so far. As far as just being that guy,
being the guy, right?
That guy,
Jimmy Butler
handling the ball, which neither.
I was
just
talking about
really
Kawhi being the good two-way player, but like to your point, Kawhi will get the ball. Kawhi demands the ball, gets it before they get to half court.
Wade isn't doing that anymore. I don't see Jimmy
Butler's a wing player. He doesn't get the ball and just creates plays. He's not a playmaker. Rondo was the playmaker. Rondo opened up 5 or 6 more open shots a game than Boston's getting right now. Like, they literally, Michael Carter-Williams and Jaren Grant weren't doing it, so they turned to Isaiah Cannon as the guy.
I saw that, yeah.
And Isaiah Cannon's getting burned. Like, he's getting more minutes than either of them.
Yeah, because he hasn't played, on top of that. On top of the fact that he just can't match him in general. I mean, I stick to what I said last week, which is that, I would still, under normal circumstances, quote-unquote, I would still say Boston gets this, W in this series, but I'm still going with them. But like I said before, if they lose, I'm not gonna be shocked. I'm not gonna talk shit.
That. Right, I agree.
Like I still stand by everything. Like my opinion hasn't changed of it. Shout out to them for coming back, especially considering the circumstances.
We'll never know. We'll never know how much that had an effect on those first 2 games.
I can assume, and I can assume that it will continue to have an effect. Like, it's not just going to go away.
I give you that. But
they came out. Shout out to them, but
breaking it down basketball-wise, though, like the loss of Rondo for Chicago seems to shift the series more than anything, more than the sister passing away, more than how good Boston has played or not good Boston has played. It just seems like this is relied on if Chicago has Rondo and Rondo plays at that level.
Chicago doesn't have a point guard, yeah.
Because Chicago...
They don't have anybody
Chicago went from...
Nothing.
The last 7 games of the season, we didn't know Chicago was going to make it. Rondo has the best 7 games of his Bulls career the last 7 games of the season, and then has 2 of the better games of his Bulls career in Game 1 and 2.
Right.
Well, they won 6 of those 7, and they won the first 2 games. So it's not a coincidence that when it came down to clutch time to crunch time and Rondo decided to start playing basketball, it looks like, boom, that was the difference, like literally.
Right.
And then he goes out, and now they look like the Bulls team that wasn't going to make the playoffs that we were all talking about.
Chicago has enough that I think that they could win it. The problem is their lack of depth at point guard is really hurting them. And it's not even just that. I mean, like I said, if Wade or Butler could man that position as far as just handling the ball and being that guy, like a Kawhi can or a Greek Freak can, then cool. But they don't have that on the Bulls outside of Rondo. And it's not Michael Carter-Williams. It's not anybody else at the point guard position. It's not Wade. It's not Butler. So, unfortunately, nobody's being the playmaker out there. Nobody's getting people their touches, their looks when they need to get it, a la D-Wade, a la Jimmy Butler. So, the Celtics and Isaiah are just taking advantage of that. Like, they have that player. They have Isaiah. Isaiah can get the ball to whoever he wants to out there, and they're scoring. And that's how they've come back. Because there's a lack of depth at Chicago's end with the point guard position. There's nobody that can handle the ball. Who do you go to that is going to be the playmaker? As far as like who's going to get the players the balls on the Bulls? Who's it going to be?
I mean,
it's not Wade. It's not Jimmy Butler. Who's left?
You like to make stabs at me all the time.
I know where you're going. Go ahead. Make your little Michael Carter-Williams joke.
You got so mad at me when I was okay with the Sixers trading Mark Carter-Williams, and here we are 4 years later, and that looks like one of the best trades of that era for the Sixers. I mean, that literally turns out to be one of the better moves they could have done. They got so much in return for, like, Dwight, you know me, I don't call players trash. He is a trash player right now. Like, I think I would rather Austin Rivers than Mike Carter-Williams right now. Would you? That's just that has nothing to do with the show. That's just a little personal back and forth we had going on for a long time. All right, so the winner...
And I'm not saying anything just because I know where this conversation is going, and I just refuse to have this...
At the time, you weren't wrong. At the time, you weren't necessarily
I'm not even saying I'm wrong now. I still refuse to have this ridiculous, in my opinion, ridiculous conversation with you as far as Philadelphia.
I'm pretty sure that's the argument that started the show, though. I'm pretty sure that is the particular argument that this show started off of.
It's Philadelphia's practices as an organization, as all their organizations, let's be clear. It's just their practices in general, and I'm just not going down that path again. I'm just going to say he was a Rookie of the Year. And
leave it for 10 seconds, because I don't even have this written down.
Unfortunately, he was at 8 feet tall, so they traded him.
Who are you taking, Chicago or Boston? It's 2-2 as of this recording.
I'm taking this delicious drink. I'm taking Boston.
I'm taking Boston as well. Unless Rondo comes back, then I'll take Chicago. But I don't see Rondo come back, so I'm taking Boston.
No, he's done.
Okay, so quickly, because I don't even have this written down. The winner of the Atlanta-Washington series takes on who they play. Who do you think wins it? I got Washington winning Atlanta-Washington.
I definitely got Washington winning. I like.
So that would set up for Boston-Washington.
What is it? Is it 2-2? I don't know.
No, it's 2-1. But I mean, as of this recording, there's another game that's literally going to be played during this evening.
Okay, well. I mean, Atlanta showed up for one game and completely, routed them out. Which shout out to them, I guess. I just don't believe in any team led by Dwight Howard.
No, I talked about two of the best.
It's not even led by him. That's the ironic part.
Yeah, I talked about two of the best series, and we're gonna kind of go off the cuff and a little random here.
Okay.
Not one of the best series, but for a sweep, it was a very close series. Cleveland beat Indiana. By a combined in those 4 games, only 16 points. So looking at it that way,
sweep, it was close,
doesn't really seem like it should have been a sweep. But it was a sweep nonetheless. LeBron hasn't lost a first round game, a game in the first round since Westbrook, Harden, and Kevin Durant played together in Oklahoma City in 2012. That's impressive. More impressive, he averaged 30 plus, 9 rebounds, 9 assists in the series. That was very impressive. The comeback in Game 3 was probably the most impressive part. This is a LeBron.
Slipperholics out here.
That we saw.
Y'all had a field day, didn't y'all?
I was happy to see it because while everyone was jumping off them, I was staying confident that they were going to be all right and figure it out in the playoffs.
I'm still off for them. You can't.
I don't take it off of one series, but what I'm saying is I'm confident enough as what I've seen out of LeBron James.
On one game?
One game, one series, in 4 games. What he did every single game. What he did down the stretch in the last 2 minutes of every single game.
Is that enough to win an NBA title?
In 3 of the 4 games, he made the clutch shot to win the game. He also made the clutch block in the series clincher. He made the clutch steal in the series clincher. He did everything that I felt like. We look at LeBron to do everything, and LeBron literally did everything. And now I know you're just going to roll your eyes. And look, I'll be honest with you. Because you and I go back and forth, but at least you, even though you don't like it, you at least see what he does. Like I feel like it does. You don't have that mental
38
block.
38 and whatever you just said.
But you saw, but you see what he does. Where
I just don't know if he's enough to win finals.
You know that I have off on Mondays and Tuesdays, and I don't like to sit and watch. I listen to a lot of sports talk radio, but I don't like to sit and watch the First Take on ESPN, and I don't like to watch Undisputed, the back and forth between Skip and Shannon. But right before Colin Cowherd comes on Fox Sports 1, not to give them any props or anything, but right before he comes on, Undisputed's on. And Shannon and Skip and some other guy were talking about LeBron. And the other guy and...
The show doesn't get enough credit, but anyway.
The other guy and Skip were literally like...
It's better than First Take.
I agree that it's better than First Take, but I don't like either show because in this, like, I literally got to the point where I was just getting enraged waiting for Colin to come on because I wanted to watch Colin. I'm getting tired. I was tired.
He gets enraged by somebody's opinions.
Not even about their opinion, because here's the thing. Is that it didn't like Shannon was doing this purposely to see if he can get them to like just do what they were doing. He was just throwing out something, and everything he said, they would come up with an excuse of why LeBron wasn't this, or he would just say about this happened, and then when they got to the end of it, he finally was like, now how many things did I just bring up? And the girl was like 10, and he was like, and how many times do they have an excuse? And she goes 10, and he goes, that just means he keeps doing it, and they keep finding other excuses. My point is that
I'm waiting on it.
You see what he's doing.
Okay.
The rest, like, there's just still those haters out there, and that's why you get frustrated from hearing it from all the other people.
Them haters.
Because even in a series that he just had, right, where like did he do most of the work there? Even a sweep in the first round isn't enough. We only did it by a combined 16 points. Even a sweep in the first round isn't enough. He hit the clutch 3. Well, he didn't do this. Well, he made contact on the steal. Look, it's not his fault. The officials officiate the game differently in the first quarter than they do in the fourth. Because I'll be honest with you, if they're going to call that if they would call that a foul in the first quarter, I'd like them to call it a foul in the fourth. They did not. It is what it is. You know what I mean? But like, it just seems like everything he does, there's still people who have the built-in excuse on no matter what he does that it was this or it was that or it was... Like, when they came back, right, you literally had the group of people that... You either had people say, well, the Pacers gave up that 26-point lead because LeBron wanted them to, and then you have those people that say the Pacers gave that 26-point up lead because they choked. And there was no matter what, they choked. Like, with Tom Brady winning the Super Bowl, it was either Tom Brady came back and Tom Brady was the reason and Tom Brady wasn't going to let his team lose, or it was Atlanta
everybody
choke.
Says Atlanta choke. Don't even stop it. Everybody said Atlanta choke. That's why they still got that 28-3 meme that is out there. So everybody says Atlanta choke.
Do you think that the Warriors choked last year in 3-1?
Yes.
Okay. So,
absolutely.
And I'm not against it.
That was a complete choke job. Yes. Hands down.
But the
others... I was the first person to come out here and say that.
Yes. Yeah, no, it's right. I know you said that, but I just wanted to clear it up because we got new listeners and followers. I already knew the answer to that question.
It was definitely a choke.
And I always say, to the comeback of that...
Choke's a choke.
The other team still had to do their part to get there. Like...
Right. Okay.
The first quarter points count as much as the fourth quarter points, whether the fourth quarter points are when you're down 7 or you're up 7. Do you know what I mean?
Choke's a choke.
And I'm with you, but I just feel like it doesn't matter what... It's just like Tom Brady. It doesn't matter what he does. I get in arguments with people at the bar. It doesn't matter what Tom Brady does. People still have built-in excuses on anything he does. Everything he does, somebody got to come back for me on why it wasn't him. And I'm just like...
This is every conversation I have with you on the show. You always have something, but to me. So what's your point? This is what people did to you. Okay, what's your point? This is the but. Yes, it's annoying, isn't it?
Because I feel like those two have an argument. Because those two, I feel like those two have an argument. unarguable measures that people still try to argue. It's just like it is
annoying, ain't it? Everybody has a yeah but too, right?
Wouldn't it be dumb to you if I just sat up here and just destroyed everything that Michael Jordan did in his career? Like, wouldn't that sound stupid to you? Everything he did in his career, if I just sat here and was just like, yeah, but this happened, yeah, but this happened, yeah, but this happened,
you still kind of try to do that just because of
even
the
though I love Michael Jordan,
LeBron,
even though Michael Jordan, look, my favorite players are Allen Iverson, Michael Jordan, and then LeBron James. It goes in that order. Like, Michael Jordan is still my favorite. I still like Michael over LeBron.
Just because of your LeBron, you still kind of just but Jordan did this too.
I just point out because I can point out with LeBron all day. Because you have to. Because people act like Jordan did do this, and this.
This kind of goes into just the one line I have after this little spiel you just went on for 20 minutes. And I tweeted about it, which, shout out to our Twitter page. I'm just like, what? I don't know what's more annoying, but the sad thing is that both sides don't realize that they're both as equally annoying, and that's to quote LeBron apologists and that's to quote LeBron haters, because they're both so extreme. And I'll even admit, if you want to throw me into the hater realm, quote unquote, fine, I'm cool with that.
I think you would fall more into that, and I would fall more into the apologist.
That's fine,
without question.
But the problem is that both sides are absolutely ridiculous, and they're both honestly get on my nerves.
Well, that was my original point with the 26-point comeback isn't it a little bit of both? Isn't it a little bit of LeBron did what he had to do? LeBron handled crazy business. LeBron was getting the passes out there. He was putting the buckets in. He was playing the good defense. On top of, you could see it. You could see the Pacers basically tighten up. You could see Lance Stevenson standing there wide open for a three and just freezing. Like, he literally was freezing and then passing the ball even though he had the wide open three. I'm not discrediting the fact that the Pacers did not do what they needed to do to score an extra 2 or 3 buckets in the middle of the third or fourth quarter that could have won that game for them easily. I wasn't taking that away. My point is you need both. You need LeBron to do the ridiculous things he did, and you need the Pacers. You need Atlanta to make the really bad play calls that they did, and you also need Tom Brady to do the ridiculous things he did.
Call it a choke, though.
But and I'm not against that. I'm not against that in any way, shape, or form.
So what is
okay,
it's just gonna keep going. Okay.
No, my thing was that when I was watching Undisputed, it wasn't just that one particular game or that series. It was literally, Shannon just started bringing up everything in LeBron's career, and they literally were just like, yeah, but this happened, yeah, but this happened, yeah, but this happened, yeah. And he just sitting there laughing, and I was laughing with him. It was just getting frustrating because it was like, y'all can't give him credit for one thing. You couldn't even give him
40 times. Stop letting this man bother you.
Like, Game 6 against Boston that year in 2012 with Miami, there's nothing you can say about what he did wrong in that particular game, and yet they were still today breaking that down about the problem with that game, and I was like, are you kidding me right now?
Just to go back to your little MJ thing, what if I talked about MJ? At some point, I'm just going to ignore you, just tell you how ridiculous. You're ridiculous. I don't value your opinion. I'm going to stop listening to you. How many times have I told you, stop letting this man that bothers you so much, men, because there's more than one, stop letting these dudes.
Yeah, I don't know what the other guy was
talking about. He bothers me so much.
Because my thing is, how do you miss?
Well, then mute him.
How do you miss what's going on in front of you? Like,
why does it bother you so much? Just let it go. Just like, you know what? He's a hater. And bring that back. He's a hater. Mute.
Because you and I,
keep it moving.
Even you and I, who you dislike LeBron with no passion, I can't stand the Dallas Cowboys with no passion. But we can still take our blinders off and give credit when credit is needed to give to them.
Why do you let it hurt your feelings? It's like,
because I just don't understand how
if LeBron himself doesn't pay attention to it, then why do you?
I think LeBron does pay attention to it.
Well, he shuts down his social media like a grown ass man in the playoffs.
0 Dark 30.
Good for him.
2012 was the last time he lost a first round playoff game.
Good for him.
That's an incredible
I'm not saying
stat.
That's sarcastic. I'm saying good
that's
for
an
him.
incredible
That's
stat.
Christ almighty. Next.
If they win, they play the winner of Milwaukee and Toronto.
The same night that everybody was slurping LeBron like it was something unexpected and miraculous, and I was like, it was good. And then it was the same night that the Bucs just completely destroyed the Raptors, and nobody was talking about it. Jesus. You want to talk about stuff that irritates me? This is I'm like, okay, yeah, you should be talking about the LeBron comeback. You should.
Yeah, it's a big deal. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, right.
But the time frame that I was listening to sports, which was a decent amount of time on multiple channels, I was flipping through, going through, and everybody's talking about LeBron, and I'm coming back to all of them, and nobody's talking about how Milwaukee just shut down Toronto. Nobody talked about it. Nobody. And I'm not even saying slurp up Milwaukee. Let's talk about how Toronto just got embarrassed. Nobody was talking about it.
Well, Toronto,
and it was absolutely ridiculous to me.
Even in the games they won, like the Toronto game where DeRozan had 20+ and Lowry had 20+ and Lowry hits basically the game-winning shot with 3 seconds to go. Nobody was talking about it the next day, and that happened a week before that.
I tweeted it on our page at _JD Sports. I tweeted, "Are we just going to keep disrespecting perhaps the most? Well, at least at that point." And still to me, are we still going to keep disrespecting the most entertaining series, in my opinion, by putting them on every NBA TV every single day? One game was on primetime. 2 of them, I guess, technically, because it's so spread out. Every weekend you get it. Even though it was the early game, it was like, 1 in the afternoon?
Yeah.
Then nobody's watching,
Oklahoma City.
And then during the week, they put on Miami TV. I'm like, why do we keep disrespecting these guys?
Oklahoma City and Houston have been on 3 primetime games on TV.
And at this point, it's 3-1. Excuse me. Right. This is why I'm like, why are we, quote, disrespecting this series and just the Bucs in general? I just don't understand it. And it's not even just the Bucs because they got a little humbly in Game 4, but
this is going to lead into a conversation.
I just don't get it.
Doesn't really have anything to do with this.
I get it because there's no superstars.
Might go further, but that's what I was about to ask. So
that's what it is. But I'm looking at it from our perspective. Like we're watching it. Like damn.
You and I would rather watch that over Houston.
It's on right now. And I'm trying to watch it.
Houston, Oklahoma City. We both already said Houston was the 3rd best team in the West. We thought that Houston was going to run over Oklahoma City. So
I said, okay, say we get 1. They got their 1.
Right.
I don't think they're getting another one.
When it came to actual games, we knew that wasn't going to be as entertaining as Milwaukee-Toronto because we thought Milwaukee-Toronto, but we both thought that could go 6-7 games.
Right, and right now it's about to go 6 as we
minimum.
Said. Right.
So,
which is a whole nother conversation we got to talk about, but go ahead.
But the superstar aspect, as you said, but is that a credit to... Is that a discredit and a disservice to Toronto? Because I know that the Greek Freak, and I know that, and Jabari's hurt. But Toronto has 2 guys that can score 20+ and Serge Ibaka. Like they have 2 guys who can score 20+. They have 2 guys who can individually every single night, like literally 82 nights out of the year, can score 20+ points.
You know what happened?
And they got Serge Ibaka. Yet they are still the most disrespected series other than Washington. I feel like Washington Atlanta's pretty disrespected. Even though they're on TNT, ain't no one watching that series.
Right. You're going to think I'm joking, but I'm part joking, I'm part dead serious. When you think about it, makes sense. Yeah. What happened last year that Toronto was on TV all the time? Drake was out there. Mm-hmm. He has been out there all year, basically.
No, the joke was that Drake was the superstar of the Raptors, even though they had DeRozan and Lowry, who were 20+ scorers.
Right. It was that combination that was on primetime every single game.
Yeah, because he was in the ear of a player or a ref, or he was in LeBron. Remember, he was talking
Drake
to LeBron.
has been gone pretty much all year.
Well, because Drake's
been on tour and blah, blah,
right. He had the European thing going on during the beginning of the playoffs, and then he just had Coachella the last 2 weekends, so he hasn't been able to go.
If that's legitimate, that's a damn shame. Because you got DeRozan, you got Kyle Lowry out here.
Like that's why I was asking.
And my man, if my theory is correct, which it probably isn't, but I'm just going with it, that Drake is the difference maker.
Oh, he was.
Damn, really?
Is that where Toronto basketball is right now? That no one's even caring about.
I mean, I get Milwaukee. I get Milwaukee. Freak isn't there yet.
We get Milwaukee in general.
Give Milwaukee 2-3 more years
because
when everybody gets to really know Freak. But
it's the same thing.
Giannis. Let them get to that point, but even then, it could be the same thing. To your point, it could be the Toronto thing, where it's like, okay, yeah, they got 2 or 3 pieces, but they're not stars.
I was gonna say it's the same thing as who do I always shout out? He's like basically my Andrew Luck of the NBA, Anthony Davis. Like I'll always go back to how good I think Anthony Davis is.
He's getting primetime now. He got primetime last year.
He was, but at the same time, he was still one of the Nordic series.
He was on the early slot.
I think they lost in 4 games.
I forget who they played. Yeah,
they lost in 4 or 5 games. Like they got destroyed. Right. They played the Golden State. They got destroyed.
Okay.
But so I understand that, and he didn't make the playoffs.
That's why it was primetime. I was going to say,
and he didn't make the playoffs the second year. But my thing, at least like Milwaukee, like I feel like they have the New Orleans effect where no one really gonna pay attention unless it's their opponent, and everyone's gonna pay attention. So like you already knew that going into it, but the Toronto thing really baffles me. They have Serge Ibaka, who is a superstar.
Right.
They have not a superstar, but he's a star.
He's back to where he was.
Star.
Yeah. Star.
You have DeRozan and Lowry, who both of them are
stars.
Should be superstars.
Could be superstars.
Like DeRozan and DeRozan is a great player.
I'll give you at least one.
Lowry's the 5th best point guard in the East. He might be the 4th best point guard in the East.
I was going to say flip a coin. If you say one of a superstar,
I think DeRozan's better. I think DeRozan is better than Lowry.
And I agree. But I'm saying if you pick one, I'm good with it. One of them is a superstar.
I think Lowry might be more known than DeRozan.
Definitely. Yeah.
But I think that
DeRozan's a better overall
player.
Yeah.
I think he's more of like the driven player.
He's more of the Jimmy Butler.
Yes. Without question.
He's a more overall player.
And that's nothing against Lowry. I like Lowry.
He's excellent, but DeRozan, Lowry, It is against Lowry because let's be real, Lowry has been MIA for most of the series.
But he had 20 plus and the game-winning shot in Game 2. He had 20 plus points and the game-winning shot, and he had with 3 seconds to go.
Abysmal though.
I agree. In Game 1, 3, and 4, he played really bad. Abysmal. I will give you that. But Game 2, he came out, and if he can do that again throughout the rest of the series, if he does that, if he puts up his performance that he put up in Game 2 for 3 games in a series, they win the series every time because DeRozan's going to do the rest throughout. And then we just talked about how good Ibaka is. They also have a good coach. They have a good defensive coach.
Let's slow up on DeRozan because he was MIA too up until Game 4.
Yeah.
So.
Well, in Game 4 he was MIA.
Maybe that's the thing. They're inconsistent as all hell.
Maybe that's the problem. Yeah.
It's kind of why I disrespected them to pick the Bucs in the first place. So here we are. Maybe that's why they're on NBA TV. No disrespect to NBA TV, but I'm just saying. Charles said it best.
Well, they're hiding that series. I quickly mentioned about Oklahoma City, Houston. MVP.
Russ.
Harden's hit the big shots.
And
so
my man had a triple-double in the first half.
Yeah. No, it was in Game 4.
Let's just go straight. Right? Let's just go straight to Game 4. Yes. Let's go straight to Game 4. Let's talk about that no call on James Harden at the end of the game.
Yeah.
I'm not even. We don't need to dissect the whole game. Let's go to that straight no call on James Harden. How the hell? First of all, that was the second time in the game he pushed off. But that was. Are you kidding me? That's not playoff basketball. That's just a horrible missed call.
I don't know how.
That's not playoff basketball.
I don't know what the refs were watching because you knew he was going to get the ball in that situation.
And then Russ still almost stole it on top of that. He still almost stole it because that's Russell Westbrook, and that's that hustle that I love about him and have loved about him. But that no call, and we haven't even talked about the officiating really at all in this postseason, but that is absolutely abysmal. That's not even a subtle thing where it's like, okay, I can understand. That is what the are you doing?
No,
how did you miss that?
I'll give you that.
Like, are you kidding me? That's ball the other way. Actually, that's bonus time. Somebody's at the line.
Yes, I'll give you that.
That's a whole different game.
I'll give you that.
And we're tied up.
Game. Yes, okay.
That could completely ruin a whole series. That's the difference between 2-2 and 3-1. That is huge.
After that game,
potentially.
After that game,
that's wild.
Russ had his second outburst in the post game.
Yeah, okay, we can talk about that.
The first one was they asked him about a stat line after a loss. He said, "I don't give a f about my stat line."
He's my favorite person.
And then the second one, and I like that one.
I love it. I like the second one too. But
the second one, he was sitting up there on the podium with Steven Adams, and they were asked Adams.
I asked a question to Steven.
The team gets worse.
That shit made me laugh.
And does Houston get an energy boost out of Russ coming off the bench? Now, or going on the bench. Now, let me put it this way. The question was stupid, okay? Like, I'm just going to say straight up. Like, the question was dumb. We all know...
That's not something... Right.
We all know Houston gets better when Russ goes to the bench, and Houston gets an energy boost when they go to the bench. Like, that's not...
What do you expect Steven to say at that point? I love that he kept saying Steven. Steven. I asked Steven a question.
Ask Steven a question. And then
what do you expect Steven to say at that point?
And if he says no comment or next question, then we'll just move on. And
I'm glad Russ
and then he just shakes his head. Steven just shakes his head.
You know what? People were shitting on Russ. I'm glad he stuck up for his boy in that situation. This is what they say he's been doing, and this is why OKC in general, the whole city, and everybody loves him in general because he's made it.
Well, I think he opts out next year after his contract. I think Russ opts out and leaves anyways next year after his contract.
Everybody and their mother, including that reporter, knows that he was right with that question. Like, we all know.
No, the question was bad.
But Russ has made it known from the very beginning it's not like we're a team, don't be trying to do that.
I get that.
And I get it. I'll even say maybe he was high-strung on that. He should, just relax. But he was also trying... He was... But I don't think... I'm not even
particularly talking about how he reacted to the question itself, because I agree, the question was stupid.
It was a stupid question. His reaction was...
the top, but whatever.
A little bit, but I was okay with it.
I was more going to...
Steven? Russ was defending his boy. He was defending his team. That's what he was doing.
What I really want to go to...
As a star, as a leader, Russ was defending his team.
What I really want to go to, because I know you were talking about just the game in particular, but I was trying to say this in the sense of the overall series. He asked that question, but isn't the obvious missing piece that they don't have Kevin Durant? Like, when you look at this team, the one thing that is missing is literally Kevin Durant at this point, because they are a winning basketball team. They beat Houston if they have Kevin Durant. They're missing a scorer when Russ goes to the bench, right?
They were up 3-1 last year.
This isn't hard science.
Or what was it, 3-0?
But it's like people don't even. It's like people, and when I say people, I'm saying it through the prism of that question. Right. But people just don't like. They don't have the understanding of they lost the best scorer in the league.
We all know.
There's like that is literally the gap that they are missing. Like that is literally when Russ goes to the bench. Yeah, no doubt they get worse.
I thought Oladipo was the man.
But Oladipo isn't bad, and Taj Gibson has played good down low, and Adam, who I don't like, but he has played just fine.
Can we just talk? What's his name? Roberts, my man that can't make a free throw.
Yeah, all right. That was a problem.
Can we just? Do you have a problem with what they were doing to him, or
no? It's strategy. I never had a problem with the hack of Shaq, with the hack of DeAndre. Right. I don't like it.
No, but
I don't have. It's in the strategy. It's strategy.
It's within the rule. And my argument has always been, even the Shaq, make your damn free throw, man. You're a great defender. Okay. He had what, 5-6 blocks?
At least with Shaq in game, he was never going to go outside it. But at least with Shaq in game, Shaq was never going to go out of the restricted area, which is the little baseline down low, and shoot a regular shot. No. This man drains threes. Like, this man takes shots from behind the arc and makes them. How do you have a better percentage from shooting threes than you do from the free throw line, which is a good 10 feet closer?
Dude, they were saying, I didn't know this. He's the second worst free throw
ever.
Wow. The second worst.
Ever.
Horrible. Make your free throws, dude.
And I went, what, 2-12 at one point?
And I'm just yelling. I'm like, why are you not taking him out? I get it. He's a great defender, but he is hurting you. It was like a 4 or 5 point switch at that point.
But the difference is that if they take him out, Harden would go off on the other end. I mean, Harden was missing shots because of him, and I'm with you.
Well, then it's time to get rid of him and get somebody that can play a little bit of defense at least, and make a free throw.
At least Tony Allen never was missing his free throws like that. Like that's I don't understand it myself. I really don't. I don't get it. Harden still was making the big shots at the end. I know Harden had the really bad push-off in Game 4.
Horrible.
But he made the big shots at the end of two of their 3 wins. Mm-hmm. It's been a fun series. Not really. Russ is kind of it for Oklahoma City.
He is it. He's the most fun player to watch in the league as far as I'm concerned.
Outside of...
his energy and effort alone is enough for me.
Outside of Steve Kerr, I don't have much to say about the Warriors and Blazers.
No.
The Warriors being down so many points even without Steve Kerr and then coming back and winning. JaVale McGee being the best player on the floor for them for that is incredible, I guess, to think about. Overall,
Barkley said it best.
They don't need Kevin Durant.
No.
They don't need...
I saw a thing earlier today on my Facebook that was, of course, from my favorite network and my favorite show, saying... odd but true. I'm gonna say OKC. Golden State is 15-0 or something. The last 15 times Kevin Durant hasn't played, they have won. 15 times that he wasn't playing this year, they won. 15 straight. Some ridiculous like that. I may not have a word for it, but it was something ridiculous, and I was like, no shit. Like everybody was.
It might be 15 because it was 13.
Yeah, it was 15.
Damn, man.
Everybody was on this kick about, if you lose Kevin Durant,
you remember when KD got hurt? You remember when KD got hurt? They went 5-6, and then they sat all their starters, so they go 5-7 in the first games without him. They went on a 13-game winning streak after that before he came back.
We were saying
that's incredible, and then they just won too. Yeah, 15.
How absolutely ridiculous it is that we're even having this conversation, in my opinion, because they were like,
we had this.
Clear they lose KD. I'm like, no, they are the same team outside of.
They're a little less deep off the bench, but they still are doing their thing. They still got Steph, they still got Clay, they still got Draymond.
The end. They still have Iggy. Like, the end. Like, I just thought it was absolutely ridiculous. Anyway, like I was saying, Charles Barkley said it buzz. Everybody wants Steve Kerr to get better? Definitely, sure. But we all know that they're going to be just fine without him.
Yeah, they went on, 17-game winning streak without him when Luke Walton was their coach.
Right.
There's no question
that they're going to be just fine. One of my least favorite coaches ever, Mike Brown.
I was still going to point that out, but
they're still going to win. Whatever.
But shout out to Steve Kerr. Hopefully he gets better. Somebody who literally, he's such a competitor that he fought Michael Jordan in practice once. It must take a lot for him to actually not want to be on the sidelines. Like, he took a punch from Michael Jordan once in practice. That's how competitive he is. That's how involved he wants to be with everything. And here he is now saying in the middle of a playoff run, he can't do it, and he's not coming back unless his doctor says that he will be able to do it throughout the entire postseason. So there's a potential that he doesn't come back at all. While we both think it's so early, he most likely will come back. That's a weird thought. And if we go deep into it, like if we get to the finals, for them to have to go against LeBron without Steve Kerr, I think that would be the first time that it would matter. I don't think it's going to matter until then. But if they don't have Steve Kerr then, I think it will. I mean, look, Brown is a good coach, obviously. Brown was also LeBron's coach for a while in Cleveland, wasn't he? Back when they went to the finals and lost to the Spurs, right? 4-0.
Yep.
So, I mean, you have that factor as well.
I don't know.
Is there anything else NBA that you want to talk about?
No, I think we covered everything.
We didn't talk about ISO Joe, but neither of us really care about Utah Clippers until the winner of that series has the second round.
I have no idea what you're talking about, but okay, yeah. That's cool.
Yeah. All right. We have NFL I want to get into, but before we do that, I want to quickly, just real fast, run through the NHL. We're going to the second round. I was completely wrong on most of my picks in the first round, so shout out to me for not getting barely anything right. In the West, okay, the second round, I'm taking St. Louis to beat Nashville, even though Nashville swept Chicago. Chicago lost 5 of 6 going into the postseason, so I still think St. Louis. Out. They got swept. The number 1 overall seed got swept. Yeah,
that's right. I did hear about a couple.
That's the NHL for you, by the way. But I'm taking St. Louis to beat the team that swept the number 1 seed, actually, because St. Louis has played really well down the stretch. Edmonton, Anaheim. Any of these are flip a coin series. I get that with the NHL. Literally, it's just flip a coin. You might pick the right guy. So I understand that this is a very pick the coin or flip the coin thing, and most people are picking Anaheim. And I do understand that the only reason I'm picking Edmonton is because I'm biased and I like to watch Connor McDavid play hockey. But I want Connor McDavid to play more hockey, so I'm picking Edmonton to beat Anaheim because, well, like I said, I want to see Connor McDavid play more hockey. He is the best player on the planet right now, him and Sidney Crosby, and he's impressive to watch. He's he's so fun. Scored the empty net to send them to the next round because he got a point in every single one of their games in the first round. Like he's so fun and disgusting to watch. He is Harper. He is Trout of the MLB. Like he is. A lot of people are saying they feel like he had a better season than Crosby and might actually have taken over. Remember, I always poke fun at you. LeBron eventually took it from Kobe. They're thinking like this is the 08 season, the 09 season where
Jabroni started that way too early. Anyway.
This is like where he might be taking over for Crosby as the best player in the game. He is, whether he is or not taking over for Crosby. He's either 1 or 1B. Either way, he is my favorite player to watch on the planet right now playing hockey, and I want to see them beat Anaheim so I can continue to watch him play hockey.
Okay.
Moving to the East. Now I'm taking both of the lower seeds there in the West. Moving to the East, Hank with the Rangers was so good against the Canadians, and Carey Price, like that was one of the most fun goaltending series I've ever watched in hockey. The Rangers came away with it. I'm taking Ottawa to beat them. Ottawa emotionally beat the Bruins. It was crazy. The Bruins shouldn't even be in the playoffs, so for the way that Ottawa to end up beating, like, it was incredible. Carlson, their captain, he has played an incredible first round. It's going to be very hard for Ottawa to score goals against the Rangers, but I think they can do it just enough, and I got Ottawa beating the Rangers.
Okay.
And then in the series that, well, as a Flyers fan, I could care completely less about.
The salt is so real.
But as an NHL fan, the viewership, the eyes, the attention that the Pittsburgh versus Washington series is going to bring to the sport is enough for me to put my kind of feelings aside and pay attention to it.
And give it to Pittsburgh.
I mean, I'm picking Washington. Of course I am. I'm a Flyers fan. I can never say I want Pittsburgh to win. Ovi has played very well. Ovi. The actual difference that I think is going to be, because look, Pittsburgh was the one team, if you had to pick a team in the first round that looked like the dominant team, Pittsburgh dominated Columbus. Where a lot of people thought Columbus was going to make it a series and maybe even beat them, I still picked Pittsburgh, but I even mentioned where a lot of people were picking Columbus. Pittsburgh handled business 4-1. Like, Pittsburgh looked like the dominant Pittsburgh team that you're scared of. Fleury being their goalie, especially against a team that, yes, Washington did go to 6. Like, they played 6 games against Toronto, and all 6 of them went to overtime. They still won the series.
Yeah.
Ovechkin still had a lot of points. TJ Oshie was the difference. I was so mad a couple years ago when they went out and got TJ Oshie. 10 times better than you could have expected. They have a couple guys, Justin Williams, they have a couple guys that they brought in over the off seasons that are now making the big difference in dividends for them. That and Holtby is probably one of the most underrated goalies in the NHL, even though he won awards last year, and a lot of people who do watch the NHL pay attention to him. Like, he's not put in the Hank and Price yet, where he is probably as good as Hank and Price. So I'm taking Washington based off their goaltending and how good Oshie played in the first round. They're going to need another series from Oshie, what they got in the first round. They also can't go to 6 overtimes with the Penguins and beat them because the Penguins have a little more firepower. But this is two of the most firepower teams, two of the best teams, two of the most well-coached teams. As a Flyers fan, it hurts me to say all of that. I'm taking Washington. It's going to be fun, and I'm just excited on the sense of you do have... Even though I feel like Connor McDavid might be better than Crosby and Ovechkin, or at least as good as Crosby, you have Crosby and Ovechkin playing in a series in the playoffs. That's going to bring attention. That's going to bring the network that we both love so much, ESPN, to actually pay attention to hockey for a couple weeks. Do you know what I mean? Like that's actually going to put eyes on the NHL playoffs, which... As much as we just went in for the NBA playoffs, and as good as the NBA playoffs have been so far for all we knocked on the regular season, the NHL playoffs have lived up to what the NHL playoffs have been over the last 5-10 years. The best thing running in the postseason. So, it has been very fun. Tight games everywhere. Overtime games everywhere. Big hits. Ovechkin taking a hit in the corner the other night and then coming back on the next shift and just running over two dudes just to prove that he was, like, just to show he was okay. He took a huge hit, didn't get up well, went to the locker room, came back, first shift out, just ran two dudes over just to show he was physically okay. Like of
course he did.
It's been fun. It's been incredible. The entire 6 overtimes in one series. I mean, actually there was 8 because 2 of them went to double overtime. But in 6 games, 8 overtimes between Washington and Toronto. And that was a 1 versus 8. The other 1 seed gets bounced by the 8 in 4 games.
Embarrassing.
It has been incredible to watch the NHL playoffs. So, as it always is. So, if you're not watching, pay attention. If not, you're going to get it shoved down your throat by our favorite network, ESPN, anyways, for at least a week and a half with Crosby and Ovechkin.
I'm just saying.
Even though that might not be the best series, like the other 3 series might be as good, if not better, that's the one that's going to be shoved down all of our throats because of those 2 names.
Of course. That's how it is.
So, Dwight,
yeah,
that's all I got on the NHL playoffs. I know you don't have too much to add, but overall playoffs in general, NBA, NHL, anything else to say?
Yeah, actually, I mean, you were just saying about how great the NHL playoffs have been. And,
yeah.
You know, the NBA playoffs have been entertaining and all, right? But, you know, we kind of joked about it before, but I just want to touch base on it really quickly, is how ridiculous the NBA playoffs are as far as we have, 3 games, 4 games that are tied up 2-2 that are guaranteed to at least go 6, a week and a half at least. And the NHL was where? Round 2 at this point?
And they had 3 series that went 6 games?
3.
And they're going to be starting round 2 before... They'll be starting round 2 at least a day after 2 of these 6 games. Game 6 is in the NBA.
Can we just point out once again how ridiculous the NBA scheduling is?
And how fast the NHL is, yeah.
You know, I'm good with the tightness. I'm good with the, close series. I'm straight with that.
We're on the same side. These series have been great.
Right. I think, 1, it should be, 5-game series, but that's another conversation. But 2, just... Why does it take a week and a half for a 6-game, 7-game series to take place? It's absolutely ridiculous. Now, it's because of the spacing of it, and I don't like it.
That's not to turn this into a NBA versus NHL, because...
But it should be. Because it's ridiculous.
You're an NBA guy. I would probably be more NBA guy when people talk to me, even though I watch as much NHL as I do NBA. But, they always call him hockey guy. The big shows call him hockey guy, because hockey guy always got to chime in. But, to what hockey guy's point would be here is, isn't the NHL more physical? Isn't it more physical to play an NHL game than it? Now, while I find the NBA, LeBron's on the court 3 times the amount that Sidney Crosby or Ovechkin's on the ice. So, if you start to equal it out, while it's more physical and LeBron's not taking the same hits, it's still a little more equal than people on the surface will ever give it credit for. I find it to be still physically challenging to play an NBA game, no matter.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't want to take that away. But the difference of physicality in the NHL, let's talk about how Ovechkin got hurt, came back, made 2 huge hits just to prove he was okay, and then plays a good last 2 games, and they win the series. Where in the NBA, Blake Griffin's out because he broke a toe.
He broke a toe, right. And
again, you have to pivot on this toe.
And we're talking about we got to rest our players even in the playoffs.
And we're talking about how they're resting players in the playoffs, right? And
it's absolutely ridiculous.
I'm not trying to call out Blake in any way, shape, or form when I say the whole toe thing.
If he broke his toe, he broke his toe.
You got to be able to pivot on that toe, and the big toe is what you're running off of it, and that's all you do in the NBA. So it's fine. If he's out indefinitely because of that, it's not. We don't have a problem with him being out for a toe. We're just pointing out the fact of Ovechkin took a shot to the head, could barely stand, and less than 20 minutes later, he's running dudes over.
Point being, NBA, you need to speed this process up.
And
it's ridiculous.
He played 2 games in that time frame where NBA is playing 1 game in that time frame. So
you need to speed it up. That's ridiculous.
The last thing I want to get into, last thing we need to talk about is the NFL. 2 things going on in the NFL recently. 3 things, actually, but we're not going to talk about the scheduling coming out. We'll do that down the road.
Christ. Talk about reaching. Okay.
3 things in the NBA happened.
I guarantee you he knows his verbatim.
I know mine. I know yours. I know the Patriots. I know about 4 schedules right now. I was talking a good amount about a lot of different schedules.
He doesn't get out much.
I don't get out much. And then when I do, it's with you. Anyway.
Which is still too much.
It's still too much. Which is too much. I agree. Anyways, we're not going to talk about the schedules because even me, who likes that stuff, finds it ridiculous that people get way overhyped. Like, I like seeing what the schedules are. It's too much, man.
I glanced Dallas's and I was like, okay.
I like it for me to be able to look at the schedules.
I glanced it.
But I don't like it in the sense of why do they got to talk about it for literally 72 hours after?
Dude, I don't.
We don't know teams drafting yet.
Dude, I don't week by week my team schedule even during the season.
Yeah, true.
Like I don't. Yeah, I just that. Like. Okay, who we play next week? Okay, we got this team, and then after that, like I might know 2 games ahead, but I don't know.
I usually know the Eagles' schedule, but I'm with you.
Because it's whatever.
For the most part, outside of who they're playing this week and next week, I usually don't care. Okay. So we got that out of the way. We don't care about schedules.
Negative.
There's 2 other things I want to talk about. We're going to jump right into the first one.
I'm sure one doesn't matter, at least. Which one matters?
Either of them doesn't really matter, but the one that has more effect and matter on the NFL, I would say, would be the draft.
Uh-huh.
We went from before the draft, before the combine. I want to say let's go back to mid-January, right after the national championship. When you start talking about this stuff, Senior Bowl, all that stuff.
Right.
We went from not having 1 quarterback in the first round to 3, maybe 4 quarterbacks in the first round, and if not, maybe 8 quarterbacks in the first 3 rounds. I heard 7 quarterbacks maybe in the first 2.
Then people wonder why I think the draft talk is absolutely ridiculous. I'm just saying.
The only quarterback out of the 8, if we take away my personal bias, the only quarterback I have any, because my personal bias, I would say Kaiser, obviously, out of Notre Dame, but like who I would want to follow. But I'm saying the only quarterback out of all of them that I even care to see where he lands is Nate Peterson out of Pittsburgh. He's going to be a 2nd-round pick. And the only reason I'm saying that is because I feel like he's the only one that can step into the NFL today and actually run an NFL offense. He was at Tennessee for a while, ran 2 different systems there, actually did half all right, but the guy behind him, Josh Jacobs, was going to take his job, so he went to Pittsburgh and ran a system there. So in 4 years, he ran 4 different systems. 3 of those 4 systems were under center. That is a big deal because coming out of college now, we don't have guys even going under center, more or less learning more than one system. So my man learned 3 in 4 years, and he was under center. Right. I feel like he's the most pro-ready today, and he played pretty good at Pittsburgh. They actually beat Clemson in Clemson this year. They're the only team to beat Clemson this year. Okay. So I say all that, and I saw him play once, like live, in person, and he played particularly well that game. So, like, I've had a hankering thinking that this was going to be the guy that if I had to pick out of this entire draft, as much as I love Watson, who I think Watson has all the leadership intangibles that you need a quarterback, as much as I love Kaiser, which I think Kaiser has all the athletic intangibles that you need a quarterback. When I'm talking about, I watch Kaiser's every snap at Notre Dame. He can throw it like an NFL quarterback. He literally has the NFL look. It's just the maturity making the right plays on the field every time, and the maturity apparently off the field, which I can't attest to because I don't know him personally, obviously. Anyways, so those 2, though, I feel like are the most, have the highest ceilings. There's another guy, Mitch Trubisky.
Is that the jabroni that played 1 year and everybody's projecting?
13 games at North Carolina. And they have him as the highest rated quarterback because he can run
again,
a certain 40 because he can jump a certain size in some shorts, because he can throw the ball in some shorts.
And that is the epitome of everything I can't stand about the NFL draft.
He went from the third best quarterback to the first best quarterback in shorts. Shorts.
That is the epitome of everything I can't stand about the draft in general, and everything I can't stand about franchises just going all in, because allegedly, of course, who's coming up? The Cleveland fucking Browns is coming up as like it goes against everything I stand as far as like these franchises are saying. Well, that's gonna be a franchise quarterback. Why? Because he played 1 year, not even the whole year. He played a part of 1 year. Are you kidding me?
For the people who are watching, they're going to take this out of context. And if we were a national show, people would take this way out of context when I say this. But
it's ridiculous.
The reason that he's in this position is because of his size, because of his weight, because he's white. Like, he literally, and I don't mean that in the sense of because he's white, he's in this. I mean in the sense of when they talk about the best quarterbacks of all time in the NFL, he literally falls in every category that would be part of the particular what you look for at quarterback kind of guy.
He's the next GOAT after Andrew Luck, apparently, listening to these people.
And he's not near as good as Andrew Luck.
Right, and even I am aware of that just because you can't tell me one guy had one season and
I'm not rooting for him to fall on his face. I don't think he's going to necessarily fall on his face.
He's a kid. He's younger than me. He's younger than you. Like,
but my thing is like...
But on what basis do you, like, this
and
is
no
everything...
offense to his season, he didn't do anything to stand out during the season to make you think he was going to be the best quarterback. It wasn't until he was in shorts and a t-shirt that people started saying he was the best quarterback.
And then, we'll look at the Cleveland Browns, because there's the ones that's projected, which is another thing I can't stand about the draft, but they're the ones that are allegedly really trying to look at him. And it's just like, really, Cleveland? Really? Falls right in line with what y'all do, too. Like, really?
If you're Cleveland, or if you're the Jets...
we just fall over and who's in line? Oh, this quarterback. 3 years later, who's in line? This quarterback. Like,
you have a guy who looks like...
Why waste the pick on that?
You have a guy who looks like Blaine Gabbert, right? Before Blaine Gabbert was drafted. Or you have... Deshaun Watson, who has played in 2 national championships, who was up for Heisman twice, who was without question the best quarterback in the NCAA over those 2 years.
Right.
You need to make your franchise better. You really going to go with the guy that you project to have a higher ceiling, or the guy that you know can win football games, you know can obviously read good defense? Name me. Not you, because you don't watch college football, but just people out there. Name me another quarterback that did to Alabama's defense what Watson did not once, but twice to Alabama's defense. And then in one of those games, in a 3-minute drive, came back and literally won the game on the last play against that Alabama defense, which is incredible. They're going to have 7 guys on the defense. Out of 11, they're going to have 7 guys drafted, 4 of them in the first round on that defensive side of the ball that Watson beat and almost beat the year before the national championship. So I look at it and I'm like, between those 2 players alone, his drive, his mentality, what I've seen from him, all had me thinking, I think Watson's going to be a better NFL quarterback. Not that Trubisky in the right system couldn't be a good NFL quarterback, because he only had 13 games, so I can't say he's going to be good or bad. But I know what I'm getting with Watson. With Kaiser, I know that you can mold him into what you're going to be, because you saw him in 20-plus starts.
Right.
Even with Patrick Mahomes, is he a little bit like Brett Favre and a gunslinger? Yeah. Does he throw some balls that you're like, what are you doing? Yeah. But my man can, on his knees, throw the ball 80 yards. I might take him over Mahomes, yet he doesn't have the same size, yet he doesn't have the same, height. He doesn't, all the intangibles that they look for. And I'm like, I've got 3 quarterbacks on my board that I would find to honestly be better long-term than Trubisky probably will be. And I have a 4th on my board in Peterson, who I didn't even, mention in those, who I feel like can help my franchise today. Those are 4 quarterbacks over the guy who's probably going to go number 1 because he looked good in a shorts and t-shirt. That's where we're at. I mean, that's where the draft is.
It's a joke. That's why the draft is a joke to me, as far as I'm concerned. And the Browns in general, it's just like, this is what y'all do, and it's like, why the Browns are the Browns. That means that you pretty much have relatively nothing. So why are you reaching on this hope of a quarterback? So why not this is what we talked about last year. Take the best player available for your given need.
It seems like
what positions do you need? I need 5 positions. Okay, who's the best available at the 5? We're going with this one. So you mean to tell me it's a quarterback that played 5 games? Like, no, that's ridiculous.
That's
stupid. That's stupid.
Are like the only
everything I stand.
People I see in America that.
This is why I don't care about the draft. This is why I don't care about the draft.
We're the only 2 people in America that have this.
His story is why I can't stand the draft.
We're the only 2 people in America that have this mentality. Like when the Eagles are on the board or when the Cowboys are on the board, No. Our thought isn't, well, we need a cornerback, so go get the best cornerback. Our thought is we need the best player available, no matter what position he is.
I say look at my positions.
Don't just give me one quarter. No. Don't give me a corner or a quarterback. I need a wide receiver, a tight end.
Cowboys need a pass rush. We need a corner. We need a safety. Yes. Whichever one of the three is the best available. Want them to take that.
I keep trying to explain to Eagles Twitter. It doesn't. As long as it's not a quarterback, that is the best player available. Right. Take him. I don't care if he's a tackle. I don't care if he's a defensive tackle. I don't care if he's a linebacker. If he's a safety. If he is anything except a quarterback, I want the Eagles to take the best player. Right. I don't care what he. I don't care if he's a running back, a tight end. You have two good tackles. Guess what? You just got a third one then. Like I look at it in the sense of I don't understand, and you and I are both under the sense of take the best player available because it is proven through the draft. You don't draft per position. You draft per value.
Per positional need.
You do it per value. I'm looking because if you do it per positional need, you're going to run yourself into the ground, a la the Cleveland Browns in 14 quarterbacks or 21 quarterbacks in 14 years. That is a problem.
As long as the Cowboys draft a defensive player with their first pick, the best defensive player they can available, because we need many defensive players, I'm good with it. They're not going to draft offensive players, so I'm good with it. No matter what the Cowboys do, I'm probably going to be good with it. We were just because they're probably going to draft a pass rush or a corner.
We were just saying,
I'm good with either or. Whatever's the best available.
We were just saying about the Cleveland Browns. Uh-huh. The other one up for the Cleveland Browns is Myles Garrett. He's a defensive end out of Texas A&M. Uh-huh. The questions with him happen to be, well, he only impacts about 5 plays a game and he takes the rest of the game off in college. Now, 2 things with that. One,
they didn't say the same thing about Clowney.
Okay, and Clowney is incredibly good, and I didn't think that of Clowney coming out, and I didn't get to watch much of Myles Garrett. I watched way more Clowney than I did Myles Garrett in college, so I can't attest to what these people are saying about Myles Garrett. I just, from what I'm hearing. But my 2 things, right? In the NFL, if you effected 4 plays or 5 plays a game and you had 1 sack every single game for your entire career, and you played 5 to 10 years, you're a surefire Hall of Famer, yes?
Sure.
So if you're telling me I'm getting that and he just gives up the rest of the game, I mean, he's going to turn out right. It might not help your team, but he turns out to be a great player. My only thing here is he's going to be getting paid a lot more money to play in the NFL than he did in college, A, right? Mm-hmm. And B, it's also going to be the environment around him. Like, that's up to you as a coaching staff. If you notice that for some reason he takes a random second down off, then that's up to you as a coaching staff to figure out why he does that and have him not do that anymore. Plus the paycheck he's getting involved, I feel like is going to entice him a little more.
A veteran's going to get in his face.
You don't just take the quarterback because you feel like you need a quarterback. While the Cleveland Browns, the only thing is, for the Cleveland Browns, the only defense I will have for them if they were to go up taking Trubisky, which I don't think they should. I don't even know if they should take Garrett, but
give him a case.
My thing is...
Don't give him a case. Don't.
If they take Myles Garrett in a year and a half and they're still not any good, you're getting fired. Like, their head coach, Hugh Jackson's getting fired no matter what, right? But if you take the quarterback in a year and a half and you do all right, same record, just not bad, you're probably not getting fired.
You're the Cleveland Browns.
I've got you. We're making an argument for an organization that is historically always hustling backwards. But
forever.
I'm not saying it's okay to take the quarterback. I'm saying I see their angle.
This is the one time I'm telling you, you have zero.
I don't want them to take a quarterback. I'm on record. I will be honest. I don't think they should take a quarterback. I'm just saying. Your legacy falls on this. Your legacy falls on this. If you make a team better,
do not give them a year.
But if Hugh Jackson makes a team better, if he makes the core team better, but still gets fired in a year and a half, how does that help Hugh Jackson?
Do not give him a year.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Do not give him a year, bud. Do not give them that.
Do they take quarterback in the second round? Do they take Trubisky? Kaiser or Mahomes if he's there?
Of course they do.
No, but I'm saying, should they take a quarterback in the second round then?
I don't know.
Because you still fall with it, right? Like, you still fall with it as a head coach and a GM, no matter how bad organizationally they are. In a year and a half, if they are not winning, they still fall based on the decision that they picked it. Not the organization. I'm talking about the head coach and the GM. I'm looking at them specifically, the guys who have to make this pick. We both agree the Browns are bad and they're going to make a bad decision. I'm talking about the 2 guys who this falls on. Their heads get cut if this doesn't work out in a year and a half.
Of course.
So doesn't it make sense to take the gamble on the quarterback anyways? If it doesn't matter, no matter what you do, as long as it doesn't matter what you do, you're probably getting fired in a year and a half. Wouldn't it make sense to make the gamble with the quarterback over that other player anyways? Because if you get the other player, your team's still not going to be any better in a year and a half and you're getting cut. Where at least if you take the quarterback, you made a shot.
It's a no because I'm not defending anything.
And I'm with you. I don't think it should take quarterback anyways. So
no.
Do you want to break down anything else on the draft? I know it's broke down all the quarterbacks and a little bit of the first overall pick, but I know that neither of us care about the draft too significantly.
Not necessarily.
You don't want to break it down in any way, shape, or form?
Hell to the no.
A lot of running backs.
To the no.
Not that you need one, but
I damn sure
a lot of running backs in this draft. There's
Philly had one at one point, allegedly.
There's like 7. I think there can be really good running backs in this draft.
They had 2 at one point. They had 3. Over the past 3 or 4 years, they had 3 different.
I mean, you're talking the wrong. I get an argument with Eagles fans all the time about the Eagles running backs, so you're talking the wrong guy. I was saying that I thought Derek McFadden was better than all 3 of the running backs last year at one point, literally getting into full-blown arguments with Eagles fans. So, like, you're talking to the wrong guy here. I'm cool if they go out and get Cook, McCaffrey, or Leonard Fournette. Like, I'm totally cool if they go out and get a running back. That's fine. I think that if that's the best player available at the time, go for it. Honestly. But with that 14th pick, I don't think they necessarily need a cornerback or a running back like everyone says. I think they just need to take the best available player that isn't a quarterback, no matter if it's an offensive line, defensive line, whatever. It doesn't matter what it is.
I don't know.
Okay, so that's it on the draft. Last thing I want to say then.
What's that?
Not even the last thing I want to say. I want to hand the reins to you. The last segment of this.
I don't have a segment. I have like 3 lines, and
I'll probably bounce something off of you with it, but I want to hear what you have to say anyways.
It's just ridiculous.
I don't know how to cover this. This isn't tragic. It's not good news.
No,
it's not tragic. It's not happy news. It's there.
News.
It happened. It kind of.
It's a footnote.
It's part of. It's what we sometimes real life jumps into our sports, and sometimes real life matters a lot more than our sports. This is a situation where real life mattered way more than our sports, and then now, years later, it's still lingering over our sports, and it's kind of doesn't matter, but it does.
But it doesn't.
Aaron Hernandez, who, look, even though he got off on 2 of the 3, the Patriots used to play for the Patriots.
Jail?
Even though he got off on 2 of the 3 murders,
for life.
I will be on record saying I particularly think that he committed all 3 murders, and
that's redundant. Whatever.
But point being, found dead in his jail cell. He took his own life last week.
Coward.
It's not even necessarily over the actual events that happened.
No,
I'm sure that you have anything to say about, because I think we could go on about the actual events, but
no, I could give a shit.
I agree with what you're about to say, so I'm just going to hand it over to you.
I can give a shit about what went down. I mean, it sucks. I'll say it from the beginning. It sucks for the daughter, his daughter. It sucks for the victims' families. Mom. It sucks for his mom.
No, I agree.
Maybe even his girl.
His girl, who's whatever, we find her might not be cool. She might be cool, whatever. But
even though it might even still, in my psychological opinion, it might still be the best thing for his 3-year-old daughter.
No, we agree that it's probably the best thing for his kid. Like, his daughter, his mom, and those families are the most important people. We agree.
Outside of that,
this shouldn't affect anybody.
Outside of that, my issue with this, and the reason why we're going to talk about it, which it's just going to be a footnote to me. It's going to be exactly what I felt it should have been on all these damn networks that cover this extensively, more than the NHL playoffs,
which is crazy,
in particularly, and more than NBA playoffs. But I'm more so focusing on this coverage that's been more so
than the entire NHL playoffs.
I'm talking about ESPN, my favorite network, because both channels that have regularly scheduled programming focus more than the majority of their broadcasts
on the schedule releasing, and
not even on this Aaron Hernandez thing. And I'm just like, shout out to Mike Greenberg for being the guy that he was like, well, I don't feel like the Patriots should. I don't know if they should go to the White House today to celebrate their Super Bowl win because of the circumstances. This is what he said. And he kept saying, we're waiting for a statement from the Patriots organization. And my thing was,
he's been off the team longer than he's been on it.
He's been off it for, 4 years now?
Longer than he was on it.
He's been off it for 3 or 4 years. So I did something great. I won a Super Bowl. I'm celebrating me being a good human being on and off the field. But I'm supposed to halt my
side note.
My celebration because of this scumbag that wasn't even on the team.
I was going to say, side note, 70% of those players didn't even play with him.
Right. I just think that the coverage was absolutely ridiculous.
I give you that. I agree.
It should have been a footnote. Hey, he did it. He's a piece of shit. Fuck him. Move on. Let's talk about these playoffs. Instead, it was extensively covered, and Just now, I talked about it way more than I should. He doesn't deserve any more attention than what he just got.
Not even just him. I want to bring this to a broader scale. We are, as a society, obsessed with in the sports society.
We're so
obsessed with
desperate.
Things that happen with these individual players, and this is because if you break his particular situation down, this is a guy who was fooling the New England Patriots, who we deem as in all of organizations, not just the NFL, as one of the top-notch organizations, and then on the other end, he's a cold-blooded murderer for a year and a half and plays under it.
So we gonna blame the Patriots for that?
No. My point is we are all fascinated by those things of like how we find them to be the top-notch organization, and yet they have a guy in their system who was capable of doing this. You would never even think of this. You don't think that you're back up to. And no, I'm not blaming the Patriots. I'm not even saying this is a Patriot issue. I'm trying to say that this is the Patriots who we look at as the Spurs. I mean, look, this is if this were to happen in the equivalent of the NBA, it would be the Spurs, though, right? This is an organization that these kind of players don't go through.
Okay, but it did. It happened.
Right, and it has nothing to do with the organization. I'm just saying that we are fascinated. As a society with that kind of storyline, with that kind of how perfect things are in this world.
This damn network is so fascinated and harping. It's the same thing I said about the Tony Romo thing. Obviously, it's a completely different story. But they are so set on talking about the NFL.
The NFL is their moneymaker.
That's fine. But you reach so hard that when something breaks, they don't let up. And
I give you that.
And it's just like, why? This asshole doesn't deserve it. He was I keep saying death row. He was on a life sentence.
For murder, right, yeah.
What is there to talk about? He died. I don't care if he was murdered. I don't care if it was suicide. He was on a life sentence. He was gone. It's been 3 or 4 years. It should have been a footnote. Keep it moving.
I want to clear up the notion of that he did that to give his daughter... No, I got you. But the notion of that he did that to give his daughter the $15 million that the Patriots owed him. Right. They didn't owe him that money. They settled that out of court. The Patriots, the NFLPA, and then his family all settled that out of court not long after his incarceration because he was a... different situation that they didn't really have a precedented standard for. So that whole he did this for his daughter to make money.
Right.
His daughter's no one's getting anything out of him doing this. He did this on his own with no contracts, no nothing. There's nothing involved. This was just on him.
My point is, there's too much positive going on in sports. There's no reason to talk about this piece of shit.
And I'm cool with that.
We got 2 great playoffs going on as far as NBA and NHL. We got. Baseball.
The draft.
The draft is about to go down.
How many young men can you bring up good stories about with the draft?
One of the most hyped fights that we can recall since Pacquiao Mayweather is about to go down.
2 weeks from now. We're going to talk about that next week?
We are definitely talking about it.
That's 2 weeks from now.
Nobody is fucking talking about this. This is one of the biggest fights since Pacquiao Mayweather, outside of Pacquiao Mayweather. This is the biggest fight in years. Huge. Look at the records. The one's like, 47-2. One's like 50-3. I don't know the exact number, but it's something like that.
Yeah.
Nobody is fucking... not even 50-3. I think the one's like 50-1.
50-1, yeah. Yeah.
Nobody's fucking talking about this. Is a huge fight. Yeah. Nobody's talking about. But we want to talk about Aaron Hernandez. Fuck Aaron Hernandez.
Yeah, I mean, I'm past that.
We're talking about this fight next week.
So we'll talk about that next week.
Celebrate sports. Now's the time to celebrate the good in sports. Fuck what he did.
There's a lot of stuff happening in baseball, as you said. There's a lot of stuff happening in the NHL, as you said.
It's ridiculous.
We're going to get into all that. We will recap the draft next week as well, which is, shout out, it's in my favorite city, Philadelphia. Not that I'm going to pay attention any more to it or any less to it because of that, but I think it's cool it's in Philadelphia. So we have a lot to cover next week, so stay tuned with JD Sports. You can find my personal Twitter and his personal Twitter at the show's page, which is at _JD Sports. Thank you for watching.
Peace out.